forever. I can't wait to see the fight between Pac, Kenny, Omega. It's bound to be killer. The winner have to consider it will all be over quicker. Deliver the V trigger. It's picking up. Lucha Bros versus Young Bucks. Many have tried. None have outdone us. Name a top 10 team. None are above us. We've been working hard towards our
don't mean shit. These records don't mean shit.
I can't see you.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
We're filming it.
Hey,
you're listening to All His Air podcast, and
I'm the baddest motherfucker.
We're best friends. I'm chucking these straight.
Produce somebody.
Welcome back, All Elite family, to another exciting edition of the All Elite podcast. We are finally right back on schedule, back on Mondays, ready to rock and roll things for you. It is actually my daughter's birthday, so big shout out to Amara. Happy birthday to my daughter. So this will probably be a shorter podcast. We'll try and run through the news pretty quick so I can get to the rest of the birthday festivities. But I did get a moment to check out and have my beautiful girlfriend take care of everything, so shout out to Amanda as well. But AJ, how are you doing? The fans at home are ecstatic to hear that they won't have to hear about you going to Disney ever again, or at least for the rest of this year or however long until some new passes come about. But they won't have to hear about how you've been to Disney so nonchalantly about 10, 12 different times since the start of the pod. So, hey, they did pay off. And so apparently AEW is about to start paying off a bunch of WWE superstars. AJ and I just read this report as we were jumping into the podcast and sort of talking about it before we went live, so we might as well start right there. Apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, WWE or AEW is looking to target 4 superstars who were already under WWE contract, and are about to be up or have already come up, like Luke Harper. They've also apparently targeting Matt Hardy and the Revival, being Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, pretty heavily as well. So apparently targeting these 4 superstars really heavily, which is surprising because we just recently read a report that stated AEW wasn't looking to add any new talent, at least not aggressively, in terms of guys like Marty Scurll, Killer Cross we're seeing might end up with WWE. These guys are probably going to end up with different companies other than AEW because they weren't looking to spend big money. So it's surprising to see this report from Meltzer. Four different guys listed, at least in this report. So it's not a ton, but it is interesting. And where it leaves a bad taste in my mouth is these guys are all super in their own ways. Luke Harper, Matt Hardy, but they're both a little bit older. I don't know if we need to spend the money on a Luke Harper or Matt Hardy. Maybe we could have pooled the money from both of those guys to bring in a younger, hot guy like Killer Cross, like Marty Scurll. If we aren't getting Brian Cage, maybe you could have put forth a little more money to get him instead of these older guys, because we don't want to fall into the same trap of you want established name talent to bring in fans and not really building up your own talent who could potentially be big stars. And while Jungle Boy, Darby, these guys could be big stars, you don't have like bigger men who could be stars. So a Luke Harper here is a little bit, I would really, as much as I love Brody Lee, Luke Harper, as much as I love the wrestler and he's a great talent, I think Killer Cross would be a little bit more impactful in the long term here, because you can't use Luke for too long now in the short term. And hey, AEW only has a confirmed 4-year deal through 2024 or 2023 with the potential of renewing in 2024. So they have that option, and so it is a shorter time period. Maybe the rest of Luke's career, you would have to assume, could be spent with AEW. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but I do just wish at times we were going for some of these name talent on the indies. Like Killer Cross is one, if you let him slip through your grasp, I'm not saying he's going to be a big star in WWE, but I think if you had given him the right matchups in AEW, he could have been a big deal. AJ, it looks like we have... Oh, wait, hold on. I had you on mute the entire time, so they didn't even get to hear about your Disney experience. Lucky fans. Lucky fans. I've unmuted you, though, so go ahead.
Is it confirmed that AEW has lost Killer Cross? Is it just heavily rumored that he's going to NXT?
No, that's definitely not been confirmed yet. That is something that has just been rumored, so it's not a guarantee. I guess you can't say that it's a guarantee that he's going to WWE, but there are reports that he will be meeting with Triple H in the coming week or weeks. That type of report would seem to heavily indicate that we probably lost him, especially with his girlfriend Scarlett Bordeaux working with NXT. It makes a little bit more sense for him in that sense, and he could really go to NXT and sort of be an Impact player right away with a potential of being a big deal on the main roster down the road. And he stands out from their current crop in NXT in that he's a little bit bigger of a guy, and can work. And while NXT almost seems to have the best roster of that in any company or promotion, in the fact that they have so many talented bigger dudes. So maybe he would, like, I don't think he'd get lost anywhere he goes, but you never know. I mean, NXT might sound like the best place to go when you're Killer Cross, but there are quite a few other guys of his size that are in NXT already. Dominic Dijak comes directly to mind, of someone he's been utilized since NXT's been on TV, but he hasn't really been the main guy. So how will Killer Cross fall into that same role in that promotion? Whereas we haven't really seen an outside big guy come into AEW. So it really would have been nice to see him come to AEW. I still hope that we can get that. Hell, maybe if they can somehow swing a signing this week or something and make him a surprise, especially with people thinking he's going to meet with Triple H, now would be a good time to do it.
Yeah, that would be awesome, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah. So we can't hold our breath on that one. We can't hold our breath on much there, but it's worth noting that they're apparently targeting some guys, and I wouldn't be mad if they signed any of these talent. Luke, Matt, the Revival, all of them really good. And the thing that you have to assume with all of these guys is they're willing to come at a little bit of a cheaper rate than they might be worth just because of their booking and how they got booked in WWE. Now, I think these guys need to be smart, though, even for Luke Harper and Matt Hardy. Like, don't take the cheapest deal you can get with AEW because you could still work Ring of Honor or New Japan. And I think that's where AEW might end up being shocked, is like these guys all could end up popping up in Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor just has the money to throw. Impact is another one that they could pop up there. You never know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Impact was going to make a big move, I think they would have made it by now. But for sure, I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah, that's true. If Impact was going to make that big signing, you would think a guy like Killer Cross might have had that. And I think the biggest issue with Cross and Impact was that he wanted more than what he was initially signed on for, and he was signed on for a cheaper rate. And I think that's kind of where they're going. They want to get people at that cheaper rate and then see where it goes from there. Hopefully, develop that brand loyalty. And if not, you lose a guy or two. It's unfortunate, but they've seemed to make it work. So. Also, Chris Jericho's cruise just began yesterday or today. They started their first round of matches, I guess, on the cruise. And in that, they announced that the cruise would be returning next year. So if you're someone who is bummed out that you missed the opportunity this year and would like to go on a short 4-day wrestling cruise, you have that opportunity next year. I think it's cool because they'll probably bring back the Bash at the Beach thing, sort of just redo it all over again next year, which would be that's a really cool tradition to build, and it works for Jericho, works for AEW, works for everybody, so it's great.
Works for me.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they return to Miami for another Bash at the Beach next year, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Another place that's pretty sweet that they're going to end up is Rochester, New York. Finally making their way up the East Coast to the New York area where a lot of people have wanted to see them go. Shouldn't be too hard for them to sell out there, you think?
No, not New York. It'll be pretty easy. Probably one of their quicker sellouts for a TV show.
I'd honestly be pretty shocked if they weren't able to simply sell it out. Yeah. Just because it's New York, you know. There's obviously that built-in wrestling fan base. I know it's not New York City, but it's Rochester. I've been to plenty independents when I lived in New York that weren't huge, but you had the Young Bucks show up for 2CW a lot. They were big in the East Coast, so just the Young Bucks there and the moves they made in New York, I think, would be enough to assume that that's going to be an easy sellout. I saw 2CW at one point. I think they were doing pretty good numbers in bigger venues towards the end because they were bringing in a lot of guys. They at one point brought in RVD and AJ Styles on a Monday night and did like 600 in a Legion, which wasn't a huge deal, but like they were doing numbers, and that fan base transitions and follows wrestling and follows indies, and that was just in one town in New York. So there's a lot of towns that they did that in.
Absolutely.
So you have to easily expect a sellout there. Wouldn't be too surprised if not. Something that did surprise me this week was apparently Marty Scurll was supposed to be revealed as the leader of the Dark Order on December 18th episode of AEW's Dynamite. This was the last episode of the year for AEW. If you don't remember, it was the go home before Christmas break. And apparently coming out from reports were that Marty was going to be booked as the leader. He was going to be revealed at this point on that show, and instead we didn't get that and sort of got a really lackluster ending to what would have probably had us all talking throughout the entire Christmas break if they did get Marty.
That would have been amazing. That would have totally changed the game and the landscape of AEW right now.
Yeah, if you remember, we were pretty bummed out at that episode, just how we closed things out. And so it's fun to see, on one hand, that they had this plan. What happens if everyone they have planned out for the Dark Order reveal gets signed up somewhere or does something else, you know?
That would be a problem.
It happened there with Marty. You never know if Matt Hardy is the next guy in line for this position.
Yeah,
he's not even out of his current deal. WWE has not.
No,
They've actually shown that they're really, really good at getting these disgruntled wrestlers to sign a deal. It's happened so many times at this point that it's like almost like holy shit. So
yeah.
I don't know. From that point, that's
with Matt Hardy though. I think he definitely wants to just do story stuff, and if he's gonna get big money to do it in AEW, not big money, but money that's he's already rich. It's not like money is on his
for
mind.
sure. He produces his own videos to try and make. He's like booking himself into an angle anyway. That's what's funny about Matt is he's booking himself into an angle where he can sort of return to WWE with a new gimmick, or maybe pop into AEW with a new gimmick. You would have to assume, or maybe it's another company he wants to go to. But with the hints of it being Matt, you never know. So that's the only worry I have with that. With knowing now, okay, Marty was their plan. If Matt is their plan and that blows up in their face, what will you do next?
Yeah.
So, that said,
Luke Harper.
Yeah, I mean, Luke would be coming in before, you'd have to assume, because I think Luke's non-compete is up in the middle of February, which is probably just a couple weeks away at this point. And then we have Matt Hardy, who's I think his deal is up at the end of February, early March. So that's a long ways to wait for that Dark Order gimmick to wrap up too. So
yeah, it is.
WWE has a long ways to wait for AEW to wrap up in general. The new extension confirmed to be a 4-year, $175 million deal. So this was a pretty big deal for AEW in the fact that they were able to start making real beneficial money for the company, which I don't think a lot of people saw as an opportune thing for a couple of years, let alone within the first couple of months. So that's exciting in and of itself. The fact that TNT then has the option to pick up another year at the end, or for 2024, it would be it would be a bigger price for AEW, so they'd make a lot more in that last year, but it gives TNT the safety of keeping things in-house if they want to. They don't have to go into a bidding war with another cable network and potentially losing AEW, so this is good news.
Yeah, like we've been talking about, TNT is happy with AEW, and that's what's been important. And really, this is just showing you how happy they are. And I think the report from, a few weeks ago from The Observer was that in comparison to what TNT had on Wednesday's slot at the same time slot as last year, they're up 82% in the ratings. So there's no way that they're going to be anything but over the moon with AEW.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that now AEW will be covering their own production costs. That was something that TNT had covered initially. This could be a bad thing or a good thing for AEW. Maybe we'll get significantly better theme songs. Maybe we'll get more pyro or less pyro, better video production, things like that. Because I think the show itself has been produced well, but I do think that maybe even things like pyro aren't so important, especially when it's always used with the select 5 people that use it. It kind of becomes like a glaring thing of these people are treated as a bigger deal than the other people on your roster, even though to the casual fan, they don't feel like that much more of a big deal. And I get that it's a reason for the casual fan maybe to think that Hangman is a big deal or Britt Baker is a big deal because they have pyro. But I don't know about using that every week on TV. You can sort of go the WWE route where you did it on pay-per-view and maybe everyone on pay-per-view gets pyro.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So it is interesting, though, that they will be taking on their own production. So it could be a bad thing if they're trying to save money and cut costs. It could be a good thing if they're willing to spend a little bit more. But it doesn't leave a lot of room for them to actually make money based on the report. It says they'll make about $19 million per year just from this deal with them covering their own production. So,
yeah, this is... How long did it take? I think because we're already becoming a profitable company, right? And
essentially, yeah.
How long did it take WCW to turn that over? 8 years?
I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend like I know, but I know that back then it wasn't as easy just because of the fact you didn't.
Oh, no, of course
you
not.
weren't. Well, and that's the point of why AEW is made. They're easily making money, and if you want to argue that versus this, it's kind of hard to because it's way easier for AEW now. It's in the pudding because WCW didn't have these TV rights deals. There wasn't such a clamoring to get live wrestling product of 1 million viewers per week. So in that aspect, for AEW, it's just clear as day. They did it so much quicker than anyone. If Paul Heyman had this deal, if anyone had this deal, they would still be on TV to this day. So it's a great sign for AEW that they have it. I mean, if anything.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. It's also exciting to know that from the report that I was reading alongside this, it said that they were probably going to be bringing Dark to TNT with a little bit more behind the scenes. Maybe I would assume it's almost going to be the introduction of Dark with Road 2 sort of meshed together. It's kind of what we were asking for, and I would like to see that. I would like to really see it, especially if you're using total unknowns or just random indies who are making their debut. Give us their whole story, Put the money into that. That's what I would love to see. So I'm hoping it's looking like that's where it's going to go. So that's cool.
Yeah, it is. I don't have too much to add, but I remember that I watched that Jungle Boy package today, and it was so good. And you're right. If we just invested a little more money into hyping up these younger guys, we would be way better off.
So AJ said it. He watched Jungle Boy's package today, and after staring at Jungle Boy's package, all you need to do is invest more money in Jungle Boy's package.
Invest more money into Jungle Boy's package.
Now, the new Joey Ryan, Jungle Boy Joey Ryan. No. It's nice to see that's a potential way we could be going though with these video packages, with them highlighting a different superstar on TNT, and maybe who knows what time slot it'll get. It's cool though that it'll be sort of just, and it makes sense too with it being Dark, them being able to just tack on a little bit more to their live taping and call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
So smart move there. It is a little unfortunate that they're not going to do a secondary set of tapings or a secondary show just to sort of get more into a frequent touring cycle where wrestlers can feel like they're doing more. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of these guys are going from working 4 or 5 times a week to once a week. It's probably a little different, but if it pays the bills, they got to be enjoying it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and they're getting to do what they love on a national level, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's for sure. So you're right. I have to agree. That really wraps up most of our news for this week. We are going to jump right into this week's episode of AEW Dark. AJ was there live, so we won't have too much to talk about just for the fear of him potentially spoiling it. But let's run down this card. It's actually a pretty long card for Dark. You would almost, if I was thinking, if I didn't know better, I would think that this is like an episode for a pilot to be used on real TV. Obviously, they're not going to do it that quick, but it's so long. We'll start with the first match, Big Swole taking on Diamante. We then have Shauna taking on Nyla Rose in a tables match. The Dark Order taking on Brandon Cutler and Sonny Kiss. The Strong Hearts taking on Jurassic Express. Ray Phoenix taking on Joey Janela in the match that Janela talked about last week. And then Kip Sabian taking on Michael Nakazawa. So 6 matches on Dark this week, potentially. Not sure which one would potentially be cut outside of Big Swole versus Diamante in a potential, make the company type match, type of thing they did with Austin Gunn. So,
Kip Sabian and Michael Nakazawa wasn't too much to get excited about either. And what else was there? We had the Dark Order versus Brandon Cutler and Sonny Kiss thing, which I was snoring during, man. But
Did they do anything post match to like imply that they're trying to get them to join or anything like that, or no?
I don't remember, so I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, so I mean, who knows? Maybe there's some backstage thing, or this is sort of their way of trying to introduce them to the stable as well. You never know; it could really become this stable of misfit toys. Imagine an NWO job squad where they just keep adding more people who suck, just more and more and more.
It's not the best business plan.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a bad business plan. If they never win and they're just promoted as like the really bad, that they're always the bad team, and then sometimes they win, and then you bring someone through the rankings, he leaves the Dark Order Daniel Bryan style, and just becomes the next big thing. I think this is how Dark Order gimmick even began, was bad ideas like that. But I mean, I really do think that they're going to lean into Brandon Cutler and Sonny Kiss potentially being, maybe not joining the Dark Order, but them luring them in, and this is sort of the beginning of that. So, a tables match is cool, especially between two women, Nyla Rose and Shauna. Really,
I was getting a drink during this one, so I have to watch this one.
You are such a shitty fan. You're the typical male. You sicken me.
It was dark,
This is a good
man.
one. That's a good one to get a drink during, though. I can't blame you. But it would be interesting. I'm interested to see it, their tables match. I hope it's good. I hope Nyla can shine, because that's obviously someone they're looking to promote. I hope Shauna can do well, too, because they're obviously doing something with her. So, should be decent enough. And I like that it's a fresh face on Dark. Nyla's someone who should have been used on Dark, like, every week. There are people who need to be used on Dark every week or something, especially if you're going to do 6 matches now. If you have the time for it, you know? So,
yeah, I don't know if
dangerous, dude.
Did they just record enough for the boat, too? I don't know.
Oh, you could be right that they might cut this into 2. That would kind of make sense. I would have to assume, because if you're going to do an episode of Dynamite with an episode of Dark, you're having people sit through at least 3 hours of wrestling, if not more, and that's where it gets. That's what I'm talking about. Dangerous. It's just live TV or TV taping.
We were
exhausted. People will get burnt out by the end, so that's why Raws feel really long, because you're doing 3 hours with a hour before of Dark matches. So I mean, granted, 3 hours for 2 for Dark or 2 for Dynamite, 1 for Dark would be fine, but.
A lot of people were leaving during the later matches because it was just so much.
And they aren't always the best quality matches. You have to be honest.
No,
so.
Yeah.
Maybe they'd get in the habit of doing. Maybe they should get in the habit of doing that. Maybe make Dark like a main event-esque show where that's your not Saturday night's main event. No fuck. I spoke terrible there, but it's like the main event version of AEW where these are some of the best matches, or the most exciting matches, or something, and then utilize your first hour of Dynamite to introduce new characters and stuff. It could be a smarter way to go about that, and it would obviously help your live crowd, where they would enjoy that a lot better. So, I mean, I don't expect it to be that way, but it would be something worth considering.
Yeah, I agree. I would like it if it was like a main event type show or whatever, superstars. But
no, I'm not talking about it like that. That's what that's the opposite. I mean, like putting the main event type talent on there. Like I'm talking about like putting legitimate top guys on that show, like main event.
You think?
Players.
Well, they kind of do that anyways, though, sometimes.
I don't know. Did you really get to see, like, Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks in one of the last 2 matches of the show? That's my point. I guess that's
true.
The one of the last matches on the show that the live audience should be seeing should be Kenny or the Bucks or Adam, to keep them
Kip
around.
Sabian and Michael Nakazawa?
Yeah, so if every week you wanted to utilize a real main eventer on this show to really establish it, too, because if they're going to do it, I'm talking about the televised version. If they're going to do it, they have to do it right away. They can't do it later on or down the road. They need to start that show off as being promoted as an important show, as important as Dynamite, or around that level of importance.
Yeah.
So otherwise, it's just going to pull the 600 or 400,000 that Dark pulls every week on YouTube.
Which isn't the worst thing in the world either, though.
No.
Because we don't even know what channel that's going to be on.
That's true, too. If it ends up on something like Yeah, just one of their
PBS.
sister channels, one of the smaller ones. People will be making jokes about that, but it would be expected, like 200, 400,000. So what would be amazing is if they could really sort of pump up one of those smaller stations to the bigger numbers. And I wouldn't expect it again with it being a taped show, but it's not impossible.
No, not impossible at all.
And, well, let's talk about this week's episode of Dynamite. You talked about how they might be saving some of these matches for this week's episode, which will be taped on the boat. They are on the cruise ship for Dynamite this week. So we will see Jon Moxley taking on Pac. And it might not be the main event. They do have the tag team title match, but one of the main event matches on the show, a number one contenders match for the world title. Moxley has been stabbed in the eye. So who do you have in this one if you had to pick, Mox or Pac?
I want it to be Pac, but I'm guessing it's going to be Moxley somehow.
Yeah, I don't know if I even want it to be Pac because I do like him. I think he's a great talent. I
guess it doesn't make sense right now.
I would like it if they were going to do like a match in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Not at the pay-per-view. If this match is a number one contendership for the pay-per-view, then I would really like Mox to win. If not, then I wouldn't mind Pac winning because that would be a cool way to extend the Mox storyline anyway.
Yeah, I hear you.
And then I just mentioned it. I do actually assume this one will be the official main event just because of how they're trying to establish the tag team titles. I think we're going to see SCU take on Kenny Omega and Hangman Page in the main. This could be the week where Hangman turns. It would make a lot of sense if they aren't trying to extend it for too long. I would really prefer to see them win. So we're going to pick again.
I think I would too.
I'm picking Kenny and Hangman for this one just because fuck it.
I think I will too. Yeah, I kind of want him to win.
That will again. I've one of the best parts about AEW is I've got to watch so many matches and at the end be excited and happy about the winner. That's what this would be. I would be excited and happy about this story.
And I won't be upset if SCU wins because this is only their second or third defense?
Third defense, and it would be a really big win for them. So I wouldn't be mad if they won. I just do want to see Kenny and Hangman win. What I do think, though, is a win for SCU here really establishes their first run as champions and the first champions in AEW. So it would make more sense for them to win, but especially with the people that SCU have defeated to retain their titles. So
yeah.
But I think that's the one reason I think I'll be wrong, but I will be more excited if Kenny and Hangman win, is because SCU kind of needs this one. And in a way, yeah. I mean, granted, their run hasn't been bad. They've done a good job, but their lack of presence on television, another big win to retain the titles on television is what would assert them as a dominant team at this point to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me
but
too.
no funny business either, because I think that's kind of what hurts SCU at points, is they kind of win off I mean, maybe they don't win off of funny business. There just tends to be funny business around them, so.
Yeah, it kind of attracts them.
You know who really attracts funny business is the Inner Circle. Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz will be taking on the Jurassic Express. There's no chance that Jake Hager doesn't get involved in this one, so it's a matter of if, not when.
Yeah,
when,
so I'm assuming Inner Circle is going to come home with this, but who knows? Maybe the Jurassic Express will get the big push because he went the distance with Jericho, or maybe this is Jericho getting his revenge. I'm not really quite sure, and that excites me.
Yeah, another one where I would be genuinely hyped up if Jungle Boy manages to steal a victory here over the champion.
Me too.
Can maybe steal a roll-up victory in a six-man and potentially set up a feud down the line. You obviously wouldn't want to see them run it back for a title match right away, but it would be a big win for the dude. So that would be exciting.
Yeah.
Also exciting to see Priscilla Kelly back on AEW Dynamite. I don't expect her to win this one. She's up against Britt Baker, so that's tough for me because I love Priscilla. But hey, she gets to be on Dynamite, so.
Yeah, it's cool to see her. And yeah, same here. I'm guessing Britt Baker comes away with this one, but who knows? It's not like Britt Baker's doing anything.
Yeah, she really. Did you know, actually, that every week when she's not on Dynamite, she's doing dentistry? So you can act like she's not doing anything, but she's a dentist.
Is that true, though?
She's a dentist. What do you think she does, dude? Do you think
she is a dentist.
You think she just goes home and doesn't go to her practice and do her job?
Does she have a practice, really?
She's a hard worker. Jackson Dental.
That's
or
cool.
Britt Baker Dental, bro. No, I don't know if she really has a practice, but I assume she works during the week. It would make the most. She's probably making bank, too. If you get to work
Oh,
two
yeah.
jobs and your second job is to be a professional wrestler and your first one's to be a dentist, so yeah, I don't know. She's not doing anything too much per storyline, but she's always being a dentist, and they will let you know that every week.
She is a dentist.
She's a dentist. If you didn't know, she's a dentist.
The mandibular nerves.
Because she's a dentist. Did you know that we also get to see our boy Joey Janela twice in 1 week, which is something that AJ and I are so excited about.
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas, but we're going to have a great rich man to shit on our Christmas, of course, and that's what MJF is here to do. MJF taking on Joey. I don't expect a win for Joey here. I imagine MJF steals one via the help of Wardlow.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's that.
If MJF lost, who knows? Maybe he'll lose because Cody interferes. It's not. No, you can't put his hands on him, but he could fuck with him.
That's true. Well, that's what I was wondering. Is this the episode where Cody's going to get whipped? Are they going to wait to whip him until they're offshore?
Yeah, it's a good question about when the whipping happens. I'm not entirely sure myself.
With him accepting it. Maybe it is this week. So you never know there. That would be nuts. I think waiting to do it in the Bahamas is a bit crazy.
Yeah, and a little odd. Maybe I feel like the whipping is going to be the blow-off one, the last one.
That would make sense as the final lead up, but he agreed to it last week, so I feel like you're gonna get that out of the way right away. I would think. I mean, I could be wrong. They could say, well, we're gonna wait, but I mean, you have to create the big moment of Cody wanting to kill MJF kind of early. Mm-hmm. I think so. You never know. We didn't run through the winners of these last three. Who you got on Inner Circle versus Jurassic Express?
Oh, I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm changing. I said Inner Circle. I'm going to go Jurassic Express.
What a mark. You never pick against Jericho. I pick the Inner Circle so I can be drinking on a little bit of the bubbly. And then Priscilla Kelly versus Britt. That one's got to be Britt. As much as I want Chris to win, it's just not going to happen. So
yeah.
And sort of the same with MJF versus Joey. As much as I would love to see Joey win, this is probably MJF's. What I will say here, though, we talked on our early episodes about how Hangman versus MJF could be AEW's like major feud that they could establish from early on. I think that this would be an excellent feud of Joey kind of being grimy badass and MJF being the rich smarmy dude. It kind of makes all the sense in the world. But
yeah, I agree. That would be really fun too. It's definitely a possibility going forward, especially depending on how this match is.
Absolutely. So definitely I'm imagining that this is going to be Joey's match to lose, MJF's to win. So big win for MJF here, I guess, because Joey, he's been doing all right. He's been getting TV time, so that's good. So not a whole lot to talk about, just sort of a continuation of the new TV news. We talked about the ratings on Thursday's episode. So we'll be back on Wednesday, most likely. Who knows? Maybe we like the Thursday schedule. I don't know. Me and AJ actually haven't talked about it, but the Thursday episode was a little bit easier for us to tape, I feel like. So we might switch to that kind of schedule. Something AJ had suggested early on. But nonetheless, we are going to continue on with the All Elite podcast as always. You can tune in with us either fresh off of, probably this Wednesday for sure, fresh off of Dynamite, but maybe going forward it's something that could change. So always listen in for that. Until then, AJ, is there anything you'd like to add?
Nope, I think that's everything.
Thank you, as always, to our lovely listeners. Sorry for any audio issues we had in the beginning where I totally forgot to unmute AJ. Good thing I caught that one early. All of our audio issues in the last couple weeks taught me to watch for AJ's audio. So, wraps things up for us. AJ, go ahead and plug your social media.
You can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ, and you can follow me on Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
And as always, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at All Elite Podcast. You can check us out on Instagram at All Elite Everything. And you can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/AllElitePod. And you can always check out my Twitter at All Elite Andy. We always appreciate everyone for tuning in every week, giving us feedback, letting us know what you think. Until next time, thanks for listening. See ya.
Bye-bye.